Hi, my name is Annette. I am a psychic medium. I am sharing my experiences and things I have learned so far in my journey and beyond to help others who are also going through a similar journey or are just curious or don't want to feel alone. Today I want to touch on like spirits and entities I have seen or encountered. I'm sure there's like a whole broad spectrum I still haven't seen. And I should probably be clear that I equate spirits to beings that either had a physical body like us or are trying to guide us, whereas I typically call things of lower frequency or more like negative, heavy energies as entities. That's just a personal preference for me to like figure out how like to identify them, you know, because when I like have to ask them to leave or invite them in, I want to have that separation just in case. And I think that's also an important to bring up is like you control your space. Like you create the rules of your realm. It doesn't matter. Like, you might be like, well, my house is haunted, and they say it's theirs. Like, I had a similar experience with a girl in my closet when I was growing up. But you abide by the laws of our land. You say, no, this is my space now. You had your time, leave. And there are a few that will try to cause stuff. But remember to hold true to yourself and let them know, no, get out. My daughter likes to cuss them out. Like, that's her thing. She doesn't cuss often, but she will when those spirits get involved. Anyway, I just thought I'd make that distinction. The first one, of course, is angels. I talk about St. Michael a lot. He's very near and dear to my heart. And so, for me, it's mostly I get images in my mind. Not necessarily like my third eye, so much as like my energetic field feels them and transfers that energy into an image for my head. But I don't know if you know the thing, there's a very association to blue. He has a cobalt flaming sword he's very fond of. But physically, the one time I've seen like physically was when I was dealing with an entity that was quite scary. And I prayed to him and I felt this heat rush my body. Like I felt so warm. And I look up and there was just this bright flashlight and then it was gone. And I looked to my neighbor who was over there because I was so scared. I was like, come hang out with me. And I was like, did you see that? And he's like, I didn't see nothing. So, and I've noticed that a lot of times with angelic beings is they're light. They're bright light. Interesting, the last few months, I should point out that spirits, especially deceased loved ones, will appear, well, really any of them, appear how they want to appear. So when they're appearing to a psychic medium, they're going to appear how they want to appear to give like the person details about, you know, this is who they knew me as, this is how I look to them. But within the last year, a couple I know lost their infant. He was only a couple months old, and he appeared to me, and he showed me it was him by being next to the mother. And then he also had a relative who had previously deceased, I knew, who appeared as himself. He did not want to talk. He was quite grumpy with the little spirit. But the little spirit himself he's like, I didn't know what I looked like. I wasn't in Earth long enough. He's like, I never saw my face. At least not well enough to show. He's like, I can only see people's memories, and you know, he's like, it's not the same. So he appeared as Starlight, which really, it's so magical when you think he was appearing as his energy. Because the first, everyone wants to be like, oh, seeing is believing. No, feeling. They will let you feel who they are long before they will show who they are. But he looked like Starlight. It was literally like a star in the sky had fallen and expanded and was sitting right there behind his mother. And it was that silver, like twinkling gold with the rainbow edges. So, you know, like he said, he didn't know what his face was. So he couldn't appear as that. He could only appear as his soul and give her that feeling. And that was so, first, it was heartbreaking. But, anyway, oftentimes, I more often see them in my mind. Sometimes I see them outside. I'm not gonna lie, that still freaks me out. Like, I'll be in the kitchen drinking it, they'll just rush by. And, like, I say that, and I'm, like, hoping they're not hearing me, because once one sees you, they're all like, oh, we're coming. You can see us? We're all coming. And it's, like, it's a hard time. You gotta learn. Like, I've learned many shields. Like, sometimes it's a bubble. One friend told me about rainbow weaving. You just imagine weaving in rainbow colors surrounding you back and forth to protect your energy. I've recently, this like gold ball has been my shield. Like, it's almost like they can't get through, and it's been very important to me. So I always recommend shielding. Now, on the other spectrum, there are entities that also will take the shape of your loved ones, especially in your sleep. If the biggest advice I can give you is go by feel. Like, if you're in a dream or something and you're like, this doesn't feel right, and I'll be straight honest, like, the supernatural has it right. Their eyes will be black. Completely black, when it'll be the person talking about your eyes, and that's a big indicator you are dealing with a negative entity who is there simply to scare you and get that. They feed off it, like anger, fear, that they need it to sustain themselves. It's a cycle, you know. You can't hate them for who they are. First off, it feeds them more. But that's how they feed. On the opposite end, your spirit guides will appear to your dream however they want. Their eyes won't be black. You'll have a really close feeling. You'll be like, I recognize this. You'll feel it in your heart center. You'll be like, this is an important person. I need to listen. One time, way back before I was introduced to my spirit guides, I understood what was going on. I had a negative entity that was harassing me. But he appeared as Kurt Cobain in my dream and was telling me, you just need to be yourself. You don't worry about anyone else, just be yourself. That same one just told me, he's like, told you so. See what I mean? So that's exciting. Also, so I've noticed with me, when there's, for lack of a better term, a ghost, a spirit that was once in the physical form but is now wandering. It's not necessarily, they're not here for a message for you. They're just kind of there. They'll appear in my dreams as blue light. They'll be transparent blue. They'll look like they did then, but they're just blue light. They're not trying to show up. That's just kind of the imprint they left. Speaking of imprints, there are residuals. These are like the time loops. I don't know, like when you have energy and you do and repeat something over and over, it creates an energy imprint. One day it's very possible, because I pace my island so much, that there will be an imprint left of me, and someone will be like, oh man, I keep seeing this ghost of this girl walking around my island, which is possible. It probably won't talk. If it is, it'll be like an echo. You know, like something I had said over and over. Traumatic events can create these residual like echoes of energy, because a lot of energy was put out. I don't know if you've ever, like, I know the Magic House in St. Louis has this thing where it shines a bright light and you jump and it creates your shadow. That's kind of what's going. It's creating this, I guess atomic bombs do that too, I just heard. But I don't like that so much. But there is an imprint left. As far as, like, because I keep thinking about Gettysburg, there is theories of time, like maybe these like spots, there is just so much energy it created a time loop, or it could be that time's happening all at once, but we're only able to perceive the past or the future. You know, just take your pick on which one you want. It's one of those things we won't know until we know. And usually that's at the end of the line. Part of me knows I should talk about the negative entities, but I'm not gonna lie, it still freaks me out to this day. As I said, they'll appear how they want in their dreams, but a lot of times they'll appear as dark clouds, as a darkness, as a shadow moving. I woke up from a nap one time, and there was the shadow above me with like tentacles reaching down. So it wasn't, they're not like tentacles as we think, but they were like these threads of this dark shadow reaching down towards me. And I knew it was like this it feels bad, it feels scary. In fact, it scared me so bad, I created a bad guy in my science fiction novel based on them. So yeah, a lot of times they'll appear as this dark cloud, and when you see them from the physical, like, I remember one time, me and my friend Annie were sitting in this very room, and a shadow straight to the closet, and Andy's like, did you see that? I was like, oh, you don't even know. Because when you can feed them, either way you're feeding them. You can either feed the negative with fear and stuff, it makes them stronger, they're able to manifest more, throw things more, you're going to get more poltergeist that way. Or you can feed, you know, the angels, the guides, be joyous and stuff. And I know as a adult, you can't just be like, oh, well, make it sound so easy. It's not. I know. It's a process of mindset. I do know that by saying the words, I do not consent to any entities accessing my body, mind, or spirit unless they serve love, will help kind of detach them. So if they're in your ear giving you some heavy thoughts like, oh, you're not good enough, you're like, I know my husband, he'll get suicidal thoughts, and I'll be like, hey, say this, and then he'll be like, yeah, I can't hold on to it, like, now, I'm not saying that's the case for everyone. I'm just saying if you feel like there is something whispering in your ear, as they do sometimes, that will help. Obviously, going and seeing a professional or talking it out is also very important in those instances. Oh, that's my train. Another entity I've recently dealt with in the last year. I was having these horrid dreams, and I woke up and it was humanoid in shape. It was like a human shadow, except it was this like almost like metallic silver, like almost like it was Mercury. It was like a human shape with Mercury inside, and it was like attached. It was on me. And, like, I'm not gonna lie, I punched it. I was, like, pushing it away. I was so freaked out. And I called my husband, like, crying. I'm like, you need to come home because I don't feel safe. And I didn't feel safe for weeks. Yeah, for weeks. And I haven't dealt with it again. And I hope I don't. Like, that was not, my guides just told me I won't. So that's really reassuring. But I mean, I've had a lot of good spirits too, like just people come in, hey, can you check on this person for me? Hey, if you have the time, will you, deliver this message? Very cool. Like, sometimes, like, my dead friends will just come and check on me and be like, how's it kicking? And, that's really, it's nice, to have that. That's really cool. As much as I miss their physical form and wish I could hug them. I will say one time I did have my room loaded with spirits because I was saying prayers for this disaster. And it's one of those things, they were lost, they were in this disaster, there was so many of them, and they heard a voice, and because of my, I guess, connection to the spirit world, the psychic, whatever I call this, they all, sorry, again, started crowding into my room, and I had to call my guides in St. Michael for help, because I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't breathe, there's just too many of you. So I think that's something to be aware of. When you call things, even if it's like unintentionally, like saying a prayer, please help these people, because if you're in a position they think you can help, you're the helper then. But mostly it's just going by feel. How, when you have it, do they make you feel good? Do they make you feel lighter? Do they bring joy? Do they bring peace? If not, tell them to go away, because if they're making you feel heavy, if they're making you feel thoughts of hurting yourself, others, making you feel anything less than the radiant being that you are, tell them to take a hike. They can find that elsewhere. They don't need to find it from you. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. This has been quite a long video, but thank you for staying with me through it. And if you have any suggestions you would like me to talk on, feel free to tell me, because that would help me immensely to know what I'm talking about versus just letting my spirit guides lead the way. They said they do a great job, which they do, but still, some help would be nice. Thank you.